Hi, my name is Ryan Hirst. I've been going to Sun Valley for a little over 10 years now. I was raised in a Christian household, very strong Christian parents, went to church quite a bit growing up. When I was 8, I was sexually abused by a member of my extended family. And at the time, I didn't really understand what happened. I tried to articulate it to my parents that something weird happened, but I was really confused. So it was never really talked about again. It took me years to realize this, but I think from that point on in my life, I had this view that the world was unsafe. If I wasn't even safe in my own family, then how could the world be safe? And that caused a lot of anxiety in me, even as a young child, even as like a preteen teenager. So I would spend countless nights sleeping on the couch, out in the living room, waking up every couple hours to make sure that I was okay and that I was safe and that no one was gonna hurt me. And I would constantly kind of like overachieve to try to make sure that people approved of me, and tried really hard to make sure that my friends approved of me because I wanted to maintain like that safety net around me. In my first semester of college, immediately started drinking and experimenting with drugs. And then when I was 20, my dad and my best friend and I were in a really serious car accident. My dad was, and my friend were pedestrians in the accident, and my car hit both of them. And my dad was hospitalized with an ambulance. I can remember just thinking to myself, God, why would you let this happen? Like, God, I've already experienced something so traumatic as a child. I'm barely getting by trying to deal with that. And now this is loaded on top of me as well. And so I felt overwhelmed and I felt completely burdened. And I just decided to run further from God at that point. I just felt like I had a contract with God that if I behaved, then He would bless me. And when that just kept not happening, I gave up. And I just decided that I would try to do it on my own, and that it wasn't worth trusting God because it wasn't working. I found myself doing harder drugs, doing more powerful drugs, doing them for longer periods of time. And this affected my work, this affected my relationships. I started withdrawing from people. I remember feeling completely alone and isolated. Like I couldn't think of anybody to call, to talk to. Couldn't think of anybody that even cared about me at that point. That's how alone I felt. And I didn't feel worthy of even having relationships with people. I felt that dark pit was just where I belonged because of how bad I was. Finally, a few years later, after being up for a week, just running wild, trying to get my needs met, I ended up in the hospital with a drug overdose. And I remember in that moment just saying, I give up. God, I surrender. I can't do this anymore. I can't walk this tightrope anymore. I literally don't have anything left in me to keep going. And I did know Robert Watson at the time. He was working with me and trying to help me. And he came to the hospital and visited me. And from that point on, I checked into a treatment center for 30 days, lived in a sober living house for a few months after that to try to get back on my feet and understand what sober living was all about. I worked with Robert and I went to Sun Valley to get discipled and understand what a real, my own personal walk with God looked like and what following Jesus looked like. And I started to feel feelings of being worthy, that God did love me, that I did have a lot to give to people in relationships. Today, God's purpose doesn't revolve around my circumstances. When things are tough, I'm okay if things aren't okay. There was a time when if things weren't okay, I needed to escape it and I needed to get out now. But with Jesus, I have peace and I have safety, even in the midst of this pandemic and everything that's going on. And the world truly is maybe an unsafe place right now in certain respects. But I feel safe because of my relationship with Jesus. And that enables me to go out and serve His purpose in the world and not wait for the world to be a safe place, but for me to be a safe person that I can go out and influence others in the world in times like these.